How much trouble do you think the Suns are in now that Devin Booker is going to be out for the foreseeable future?
This proceeds to be a big concern for me. This is something that I look at and I say, okay, well, they did fine without Chris Paul, but Chris Paul wasn't their leading scorer. Chris Paul wasn't the guy that was going out there and dropping 26 and a half points per game all season long. He wasn't an MVP candidate for as long as Devin Booker was. He didn't have the second half resurgence of the season that Devin Booker has. He's also not the shooter that Devin Booker is and the elite scorer. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, Phoenix needs to figure something out. And I don't know if that's going to mean advanced minutes or a higher minute load for Cam Johnson. I don't know if that means campaign's going to play a little bit more. Somebody's got to step up. And I know that Chris Paul is already playing 30 plus minutes a game. I know that he's already averaging basically a double double in this series. So he's doing everything he can. I don't know how much more he can possibly give at his age without not necessarily keeling over, but we all know that Chris Paul is also injury ridden and injury prone as well. So we don't really want him to get overloaded this quickly, especially this early on in a series. But if you don't, I mean, it is the playoffs. You're 3 games away from elimination. You're also 3 games away from winning and moving on to the next series. But with the emergence of Brandon Ingram popping off the way that he did, CJ McCollum has played relatively well, including the play-in tournament games. So I would say a team like this, an eight-seeded team, they need something like this to happen. They don't wish for an injury to happen, but when one of their stars go down and they're coming off of a win in Phoenix, they're coming home to New Orleans. This is a big pivotal game 3. This is where the momentum could potentially shift. And with Devin out, that could easily mean that this series completely shifts. And by the time they come back to Phoenix, it's 3-1. And I'm not saying that New Orleans is going to for sure win, but you're missing arguably your best player on the entire team, your leading scorer, and your best playmaker, not best playmaker, your best shooter in the middle of the playoffs. Brandon Ingram is now starting to get it going. CJ McCollum is playing well. A lot of this New Orleans team coached by Willie Green, which Kyle had alluded to, this is a very well coached team for the situation that they were put in just a month ago to be sitting at the 11th or 10th seed to now being, tied 1-1 with the defending Western Conference champions says a lot about the poise and characteristic of this team, or the charisma of this team, should I say, excuse me. So I would say that Devin Booker being out is huge. I don't necessarily know if Phoenix is going to lose the series. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that I expect this series to come back to Phoenix tied 2-2. And Devin is going to have to, we're going to have to see what happens with those hamstrings, man, because just like Luka, those lower leg injuries can provide quite a bit of difficulty through the longevity of this postseason. Yeah, I think that the impact of Devin Booker is going to be hugely missed for this series for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at what happened with Phoenix in game two, Devin was on fire in that first half. He dropped 31 points
31.
in the first half. And then you could totally tell that the impact that he brought, it really showcased in that second half when he was not on the court, because just the overall chemistry, it just seemed so disrupted. I mean, in the third quarter specifically, the Suns just couldn't get into any sort of rhythm whatsoever. And that was because of Devin's absence. And I think going into games 3 and 4, he's definitely going to be missed. To what extent, we're going to find out. But I'll tell you this: if I'm New Orleans, dude, there's blood in the water, and they got to take advantage of it. Because Kevin, when I was watching that game, in game two, Brandon Ingram took off in that second half, and that was despite the fact that he was dealing with some injury issues as well. He tweaked his ankle in the third quarter, and despite the fact that he was dealing with it, he was still knocking down shots left and right. And if you're Phoenix and you see somebody like that that's popping off with essentially one of your aces out for games 3 and 4, that's definitely going to raise some red flags. And from what I saw from Phoenix in game 2, after Devin went out, I don't know if the personnel that they have is going to be able to match what the Pelicans have for both of those games. Now, I could definitely see Phoenix maybe splitting the games in New Orleans. I don't know if they'll win game 3 or game 4 specifically, but I think that they'll win one of them. And I think it's just going to because I think Chris Paul is going to understand, look, he's got to be able to knock down shots better, because in game 2, he did not show up. He struggled from the field. When I look at some other players that had to fill in for Devin's absence, I mean, Landry Shamet had to get some time. I think this is the first time that I've seen Landry Shamet on the court for the Suns in quite some time. So he's definitely going to get some burn. I wouldn't be surprised if Cameron Johnson and Cameron Payne get more burn. And they have to be better, because You're replacing one of the most underrated players in the NBA with Devin Booker. Kevin, he's a sharpshooter. The guy could just knock down shots at will. So it's going to have to be a group effort from Phoenix in this one. So expect guys like Cam Johnson, Cameron Payne, even Chris Paul to be able to step up and try to fill that void as best as possible until Devin gets back. But as far as the series is concerned, I thought this was going to be a cakewalk for Phoenix. But the Pelicans are showing me, despite the fact that they're a young team, they don't care. They're giving it everything that they have. They're giving the Suns a legitimate run, which I didn't really expect. I thought the series would be over in 5 games. But with the fact that Brandon Ingram's playing well, CJ McCollum is knocking down shots, and a lot of these younger players like Jackson Hayes and Alvarado, like specifically, these guys are not scared of the moment, and they're living up to the expectations that are placed upon them in this moment in time. So, very interesting series. A lot more compelling than I originally gave it credit. But really, this Devin Booker injury, it definitely throws a monkey wrench for what the Suns have at this current moment in time. And there's no guarantee that the Suns are going to win this series now. I had that a couple days ago. Dude, they're in some trouble. I don't know if they're in significant trouble, but they're definitely in some trouble. That's just how I see it.